Daniel Roberts,
And I'm Roger Price.
and you're listening to Artifacts from Highline, where we'll be bringing you stories about some of the artifacts and exhibits we have at the Highline Heritage Museum.
And some of the artifacts we have in the collections room also that are of interest to maybe different people. So that's we're going to try and introduce some new topics to the museum.
So thank you for tuning in. I hope you find some of these interesting stories and enjoy.
Good afternoon. I'm Roger Price, and I'm here with Daniel Roberts this afternoon, and we're going to talk a little bit about the oral histories that were recorded for the museum. And we have quite a selection of different oral histories that were done around 1999, 1999, and 2000, 2001 in that area. But these were people that were living in Beering way back in the 1920s, born in the 20s, and went to Highline and lived in different areas because there wasn't even Highline High School until 1924, 25. So they would have to go to either West Seattle High School or maybe it was Franklin or something like that. But they had quite a distance to go. But the one family I was going to talk about was the Kenneth Mayer family. And he his family lived up on Shawneeing Hill up towards Gregory Heights. It was up around 11th Southwest and 164th. So they had some property there. And he wasn't actually born there, but he was born in Montana, but his folks moved out to Seattle and Burien back around 1922. So, but he had a lot of experience as he grew a little older, as a kid growing up in the area of Gregory Heights and different things that they did. And also his wife, he married in I believe I'm not quite sure what year it was, but it was the she was from the Angle Lake area of over around SeaTac, and I know that one story he was telling us about telling in that oral history book was that his wife was going to Angle Lake grade school, and she had to walk along 192nd. And back in the 30s and when the Depression was going on, there was a lot of people that were out of work back then. So one of the farmers that lived along 192nd, he took his tractor and he had a shop that he was able to do some welding. He welded a blade for the front of it, and then he would go around and try to pick up odd jobs, bulldozing, maybe where there were some stumps that needed to be cleared or a driveway needed to be cleaned out or something. But anyway, so he hung a sign on his fence along 192nd that said bulldozing, just hopefully to pick up a good job. But yeah, little did you know that this Kenneth's uh, future wife used to walk to Angle Lake School, grade school, along 192nd, and every time she would walk by the front of the property, she got this just kind of tiptoed by there as quietly as she could, but she thought there was a bull dozing inside the farm there, so she didn't want that to be a deterrent. So she kind of tiptoed across there. That was kind of a cute story that he told about his wife living in that area over around Angle Lake. And there was a lot of different experiences the kids had back then. They used to play hide and go seek and different games, and one of them was Kenneth was saying in his oral history that when the trolley was came out to Burien. They used to put pennies on the tracks to help to get them flattened out. So that was another thing that they did that was kind of amusing. So, but yeah, that was a lot of fun. They had the uh, Angle Lake plunge for, and there was different things that went on. There weren't very many roads out here back in those days. A lot, almost all of them were all gravel. So, yeah, I believe that the Des Moines Way and maybe Military Road was there. Highway 99 wasn't put in yet, so there was a lot of different experiences. Then eventually they built Ambom and Del Ridge, so people that were going to town could. There was a couple different ways. I know there was a bus service in the south end, and it had. I think it was the Ellingtons that had a bus service that went from Des Moines to Seattle, and I'm not sure. I think a couple different routes. Maybe they went down Myers Way Hill on down by South Park and into Seattle that way, or they might have gone out Ambom and through White Center and down Del Ridge in that direction. So there was a lot of different, a few different ways to get to town. But I was going to let Daniel say a few things about some of his experiences reading the oral histories. Also, they're really interesting. I mean, there's a lot of people that lived in Burien as Burien was becoming a town and stuff back in the very early days of 1905 and 1910. So
Oh yeah, and it's fun hearing that story. I think you'd mentioned the one about the bull and the bulldozing thing
yes,
before,
I'd
so
mentioned that before.
but it's interesting to hear more about like the different families in there. But so I'd read one and didn't get a whole lot, but it was still some interesting stuff for Karen Beeson. I guess this recording was done around 2011. But apparently her mom had originally come from Illinois, and her father was originally from Minnesota. But they ended up in Burien about a month before the end of World War II. Um, and her stepfather, or I guess I could be her stepfather, who I guess it was the ones that they ended up moving here with, was a long haul trucker. And he moved diesel oil for the military. They had moved to specifically Boulevard Park 1 month before the war had ended, and what she had done primarily through her life was library clerk. But she also talked about doing victory gardens, and that they'd continued that like after World War II, just because it was a fun thing. They also had she talked about her memories of like penny candies, which maybe you'd remember that.
Oh, of course, sure. A lot of things were penny or nickel back then.
I
Didn't dollar candy didn't exist yet.
uh, if only it still didn't exist. But she it was interesting because she started her career like she was in the school system, but then they had through I think it was like a health reason she had to quit. And then for about 10 years, she ended up working as a waitress in various different restaurants in the area. And then she finally got back into being a librarian. And then she would go on to have other positions like secretary or district negotiator or a human for a human relations office and student placement. And she got to brag a little bit because one of her teachers had told her that she'll never get into the school system. She would never work in it. And it was 5 years after that was the first time she went into the school system. And
Uh,
so,
uh-huh,
it's always nice when there's the teachers that don't necessarily believe in what your goals are and then proving them wrong.
sure. Absolutely. Oh, wow, yeah.
But
Well,
it was kind of fun to read that. even as an adult, a lot of her money, I guess, kind of went into like those candies or something like that. Uh,
Uh-huh.
she had picked up work apparently because her husband was out of work at the time. So,
Oh,
it's-
perhaps, definitely. Yeah, it's good to have someone in the family that's working, but there were a lot of really lean times back in the during the Depression and different
oh yeah,
areas, and it was long before there was. Uh, well, I think Boeing was maybe in business, but they weren't really didn't get really pumping out a lot of airplanes till the war started.
oh yeah.
So,
Well, and then, for her, this probably would have been the 1960s or 70s, but I mean, it's always good to have someone that's pulling in money. And yeah, no, it was definitely interesting to read about her experiences. Just kind of, I guess she more often just walked to work. She'd occasionally take the bus, but it sounded like, from the sounds of it, it was easier for her just to kind of walk to work.
oh, sure. Yeah, no, it was a lot of good times back in those days, and we do have a lot of oral histories here in the museum, so people are interested. I believe Fridays is the day that I'm not sure what day they allow people to come in and look at the old archives and different things, but anyway, that's good, Daniel. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about
Well,
regarding
I
this?
think try to find a new uh one next week to do the same and maybe a different person uh talk about their history of Burien and growing up in Burien and Seahurst and wherever it was, White Center, could be Des Moines, Angle Lake, SeaTac. So we'll just try to go from one to the next each week.
Yep. Well, thank you for your input on that. And, like you said, we'll either find some other interesting folks that used to live here. We might find an artifact. Either way, I hope you found some of this enjoyable, and I hope you'll join us next time.